It is so hot. I know. Okay, you guys ready for this? It is week 6. Love you too, everybody. Yeah, chapter 6, whatever. This side of the building is cooler than that side of the building. Well, I mean, I can feel the cool air coming from over here. I feel the heat coming from here. Okay, well, we're going through the book, Why is Greater, Pastor Jim Wiegand, anyway. Week 6, overcoming obstacles, because nobody ever has an obstacle in your life. And so you found your why, you're excited about it, you're passionate about it, you're all revved up and ready to go, and now you get obstacles. So we talked about it a little bit last week, and we call them...
Sorry, I just broke. They're disruptive. Can you do overtime right now?
Man, do we need to have a moment of prayer?
I think so, for the right.
So we call them obstacles because they slow down the progress that we are making. But the reality is those obstacles, as we refer to them, are the training grounds or the proving moments that will develop each one of us into the man or woman that is able to walk into the promise of the why. There's a quote in the book, and it says, "The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The realist adjusts the sails." Right? So the pessimist just complains about the situation. And they're frustrated by it. Right? You have that person in your staff meeting, in your family, in your whatever, your community, that they're just constantly complaining about everything. Then you have the person that's just the eternal optimist, and it'll be better. It'll cool off. 30-degree drop tomorrow, just you wait. Then we won't be worried about air conditioning till next week. And then there's the person that just says, well, let's just hotwire it and short circuit it and make it work. Because that is a possibility. So there's 2 promises made. Promise number 1. There will be obstacles between where your why is revealed to you and where you get to enjoy that thing. And promise number 2 is, just as God gave you your why, God will create your way so you'll be prepared to take your stand when the day comes. So he's going to navigate you through this. And so often when obstacles come in our life, we just want to throw in the towel. I tried to throw in the towel. And they kept kicking it back, and I was like, stop. A clear call. Part of that why is there's a clear call. There's that thing that is clear to you that God has for you to do. The thing that you're excited about, that you're passionate about. And it doesn't have to be these crazy, profound things. For myself, I talked about my conversion experience, and I talked about it being pretty mundane when I came to know the Lord. There was no altar, it was just kind of me by myself. I asked in the car on the way home from church one week, I asked my dad, hey, like, so just to be clear, this whole like salvation thing, do I have to go up front? How's this work exactly? He said, no, you just got to pray. You just got to ask God for forgiveness. And I was like, okay. He didn't be like, you want to pray right now? He probably should have, but he didn't. And so it just kind of happened. And I kept going about my day. Obviously the eternal change is an exciting thing, but there was no like, dun da da da. No fireworks. But the profound part, the exciting part, at least for me personally, was that shortly after I found my why and my purpose and my direction. That was what was lacking in my life. I mean, I had some other issues, but my real struggle was I just didn't have a direction, a why, a purpose, of what am I doing? And so then I went, okay, yeah, I'm called to ministry. I want to become a pastor. I want to lead a church. And so I went from no purpose, no direction, no goals, to passion and purpose. And that was the profound, exciting thing for me. Man, somebody needs to teach that kid a lesson. He's I just want to make a note here, when he's at my house and I have him, he doesn't do that. So everyone's why must graduate through a process that can be very hard. And we could go through the room and I could go, yeah, you're in ministry. What, did you go through a hard time? And yep. Let's not talk about it. Or let's talk about it, but let's make sure every seat has a tissue. And in all different facets of life, we go through those moments, those challenges, those difficult seasons. And sometimes in the midst of those seasons, we just go, man, why are we doing this? Talk about why. And so we have to graduate through this process, and it can be very difficult. In the book, he talks about 4 schools that you're going to have to go through. The first one is the school of inspiration. So this is that exciting part where everything is just coming together. The dots are connecting. You know, the circle of the different parts of your life are beginning to overlap, and you're beginning to get close to this thing that is important. Your heart's full, you're excited. It's like finding a treasure. In the book, he compares it to falling in love, and he tells the story of how he met his wife, but he talks about this school of inspiration. It's an energized season that you get to experience. So for myself, this was like a Bible college. When I went off to Bible college, I had only known the Lord for about a year, and I went off to Bible college. I really didn't know anything. And so off to Bible college I go, but it was fun. It was exciting. There was tons of learning. I drove halfway across the country to go to Bible college. I knew nobody. It was perfect. I got into ministry. I started doing things and going on missions trips, and I was a sponge, just soaking up everything. And I was excited. We were going to change the world. And then the world came with a right hook. They didn't tell us that. That's not in any of the courses. They don't tell you, oh, by the way, you're going to get beat up. You're like, by who? By your own people. Wait, what? Time out. Didn't they read the book? I thought every Sunday school class talked about be nice, love one another, Jesus, pray. And then there's the school of application. And so this is the stage where you begin to talk and walk out this thing. Changes are made, sacrifices are made, but we're all about it. We're excited about it. You start to take those first steps that take you from dreaming to living and being a part of it. And there's bumps in there, but the excitement is still high enough we can just kind of bounce through them and navigate through them without a lot of difficulty. So for me, this would have been my first ministry position. I had a really long title: youth pastor, associate pastor, janitor, office admin, tech guy, Jack of all trades. And so there was all these things. I always wanted to be the guy that could do all the things. And I didn't know at the time that the title of that guy is pastor. You got to find a way to fix it, build it. Meet the guy that can, talk to the guy that can, coerce the guy that can. Whatever it might be. So I was learning the ropes, and it was time to be done studying and time to begin implementing. And I had a great mentor. I was fortunate. I have good in-laws. And my father-in-law was my first boss. And he gave me tons of opportunities. I would come to him with ideas that I thought were amazing. Little did I know they'd been done 100 times. Because I wasn't part of the church. I didn't know. But he would give me room to grow and make mistakes, and he would encourage me. He would challenge me. When I first started here, we hadn't been here very long, and after one of my sermons, he caught me outside and he goes, "You guys know what filler words are? Right? Like?" So I was using some filler words, and he's like, "Knock it off," in a nice, loving way. "Yes, sir. Got it. I'll knock out the filler words, right?"
Nice.
A couple of you caught it. But we didn't care how much money we were making. That was just a little bump you just absorb. We were just excited to be doing the thing. And so in that school of application, we were excited. And then comes the school of perspiration, kind of like right now. The temperature rises, the pressure increases. And this is the place where a lot of times the dreams we have die. The thoughts, the dreams, the plans, the goals, they come in contact with the world. They come in contact with Captain Optimism or Captain Negativity, and they just begin to cut you down, tell you your idea is terrible, and the pressure comes. And this is where we have to begin to exercise some faith. Is it really what God spoke to my heart? Am I really going after the thing that God had for me or has for me? It's really easy for our dreams to die in this stage. Man, I just can't do this anymore. This is too frustrating. This is too discouraging. And one of the killers of this can be time. Because we want it to happen. The microwave is the worst thing that could have happened to us. Life is a smoker. And it takes a lot of time to make a good meal in a smoker. You can throw it in the microwave and you can have it really quick, but it just cooks all the good stuff right out of it and poison.
Can't chew it.
Can't. Coffee's disgusting. I know a guy, he uses the leftover coffee from Sunday on Monday. I'm like, bro, it is not that expensive. We are brewing a new pot. I'm like, that's a terrible thing. And so, in this stage, all the hope that we had can be erased. Our hearts can be crushed. And we can just kind of throw in the towel and go, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I can't do this. I'm exhausted. I'm beat up. And I shared with you how I went through that position, had that position at a church. It was a tough church, poor leadership. And that was difficult. And then that season was followed by, so I left that church in 2009 and went to work for Teen Challenge, which moved me here in 2010. And I didn't start pastoring again as a lead pastor until 2021. So I had this window of time, and I put resumes out. Believe you me. Even when I was at that church, I was constantly putting resumes out. And I was researching towns. Okay, this church has, this town has a church. Let's research the town. Here's the population. Here's the demographics. We'd go to the real estate market and look at the housing market. What do the houses look like? What does the neighborhoods look like? What is happening in this community? Do we think this would be a good fit for our family? I researched so many communities. Washington, Oregon, Montana.
How long were you at that church?
1 year, Father's Day to Father's Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I started right after Father's Day and was fired before the next Father's Day.
Well, I'm glad you at that church.
Glad to go far.
I didn't leave. I would have stayed. Sometimes you can be hard-headed to a fault. I just like to win. But God orchestrates all of the things. And sometimes when we're in the midst of that difficult thing, it's hard to see those things. And so one of the triggers to my demise was that I went to our annual conference. The pastor had just had surgery for prostate cancer. And so they were really mad at me that I left town because he had surgery, which I didn't have surgery. I was fine. I wasn't like caretaking. And that conference is where I ran into a guy that I knew. And he said, hey, come volunteer at Teen Challenge. And I said, okay. So when I got back home the next week, I went out to Teen Challenge and went to volunteer. And the director saw me walk in and he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, well, this guy wanted me to come out and see about volunteering. And he goes, come in my office. And he was the director. It was Pastor Russ. And he's great. And he pulls me in his office and he goes, I don't want you to volunteer. I was like, he goes, I want you to work for me. I go, well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm about to get fired. So, can we start this conversation and then we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks? Because I think my demise is imminent. And so the cool thing about God is I went into that board meeting and they said, we want you to resign. And I said, you're going to have to fire me. And they said, we're calling the regional office. And I said, I already beat you to it. I didn't say that. But I had done it about 8 months prior. I had already started that conversation. Megan had some God-given words for them, and she said, okay, we know, it's all right. We know you want to sell the parsonage that we live in because you want to recoup your salary and stuff. So we know. So we'll go. And they were furious. How do you know that the house was already sold? They went straight from that meeting to the realtor's house and gave him an earful because they thought he blabbed. But it was just a word God gave Megan, and she just called them on their stuff. So I go home from that meeting, and I get on the phone, and I say, hey, Pastor Russ, my imminent ending is not so imminent anymore. It's over. He goes, okay, well, I'm out of town. I'm blah, blah, blah. When I get back, come see me. So I had a job the same night. Basically, actually, a couple weeks before, God had already set it all up. And then I started working there, and they were great to me. I remember so I was working with Teen Challenge, so we're working with men in addiction. We had 50-ish men at this facility. So I'm working with these guys, and I get into it with the guy. So I would take these guys to work every day. And I get into it with this guy, and we go back to the office, and we get called into the director's office, the principal's office, if you will. And I'm ready to I'm pretty new. I think I probably just screwed up. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, well, you were never an addict. What do you know? I'm like, well, you didn't need a coach to tell you to put the needle in. You just need somebody to show you how to live a little different. So that's why I'm here. And they didn't really like that. But so we end up in the principal's office, and I said, we had this guy and I had conflict, and so I'm ready to just get my previous thing, right? The grass wasn't green enough, so that's what I'm ready for. And Pastor Russ lays into the student, tells him it'll not be that way, and lays him out and just gives him the little. And I'm like, whoa, okay, you can go. I'm like, and then he turns to me and he's like, you're doing a great job. And I just went, I was like snotting and crying. And I said, I am so sorry. I didn't expect that. I didn't even know I was upset. It just happened. And I said, I haven't been somewhere where we were on the same team for a long, long time. I forgot. And so in the midst of the obstacles, it got me to there. And then we went to this Teen Challenge has a regional conference every year. Ran into Pastor Mike and Starlene. And because they were at a different facility at the same time. We've been crossing paths like this with Pastor Mike and Starlene for about 15 years. Until we finally But it's one of those things where you're like, yep, oh hey. And so we go to this conference, and the regional director sees me, and he's like, what are you doing here? We were golfing. That's what golf sounds like. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I work for Russ. He's like, what? Like, clearly you don't pay attention. But, okay. He's like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, told him, and, well, how long and why? And this guy used to come to my church with the Teen Challenge guys, and we would support them, and they would do their thing. And so we'd known each other for years. And then, a few weeks later, I get a phone call, and he says, what do you think about going to Boise? I'm like, well, actually, I got called back into the principal's office, and he said, he's going to call you, and this is what he wants. And I had run into the guy that was actually my direct supervisor, and he was so mad, and I was like, what's your problem? What happened? Why are you? I didn't even do anything wrong today. And so then I end up in Russ's office, and he's like, well, he's mad because Chris is going to call you and offer you this thing. And I was like, oh, he wants it? He's like, nope. He just wants you to stay and not to go, and he knows you're going to go. Because we were living with family. Anyway, there's this whole thing. But anyway, so they offered me a position to move to Boise. And so I get to Boise. And I'm getting closer. But I've still got these obstacles in my way. The pressure, the perspiration is still there. I find out that I am a terrible fundraiser. I am a pastor, not... I take an offering every week, but to sit down with you and go, I need about $10 million. I just couldn't do it. I could sit down with you and we can have the greatest lunch. We'll hug at the end. I played softball last week and hugged a guy I don't even know. After the game, Megan's like, you know that guy? I was like, nope. You hugged him. Well, he actually kind of hugged me and I just hugged him back, but it's softball. You can do that. It's okay. And we can go to lunch and we can have a great time, but I can't say, you're going to write me the check? I just couldn't do it. So we would sit down and he'd go, why aren't you raising more money? Well, I suck. I'm not, this isn't the position for me. Wrong seat on the bus. And so the pressure comes. Well, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing it better? And we knew nobody. When we moved here, we knew 0 people. Like, not a friend, not a relative, not an acquaintance. Like, we know nobody. So, first time I had to put together a fundraising banquet, I was like, I don't know who's going to come, but I guess we'll do this thing. We raised like $1,500 and spent $1,400. And the only reason it was that cheap is because Pastor Tim and Debbie that do Shiloh Ministries, they did all the work. They hosted it in their church, and them and their kids cooked all the food, and they were a huge blessing. That's why when they come, I'm like, yes, we want to love these people. They were the first people that were nice to me. And then it got a little bit better, but I was just no good at it. We just have to know. It wasn't my why. I was like, this is misery. I don't want to raise money. It's not my why. And so the perspiration kept building. A decade of time, over a decade. About 12 years of, nope, you can preach here and there. Nope, no interview. Send a resume. No interview. Send a resume. Have a guy call me. I'm getting ready to retire. You want to come be my pastor, replace me? And it was back by our hometown. I'd been to the church. I knew the area. I knew I could probably pull from the other church. Yeah. We would be interested in that. Let's keep talking. Okay, let me go to my board. Well, my board wants to put it out to everybody. Okay, well, I know what that means. So they hire somebody else. Like 8 months later, they call me. You still interested? No, now my kid's a junior in high school, and no. If you would have said yes here, it was in between, and we could have done it. But now... So the pressure. The school of resurrection is the 4th school. And so after whatever period of time, it comes back. We think of Jacob. No, not Jacob. Sorry, wrong guy. He's a nice guy, but Joseph, sold by his brothers. Thanks. Jacob and Esau's later. Joseph, he's sold by his brothers. And it's years and years, decades. Doesn't know if he's ever going to see his dad again. He's in the prison, and then first he's with Potiphar, and then he's in the prison, and then I mean, he had that dream when he was how old? A couple of them, and he wasn't super like, oh, let me tell you, you guys are going to bow down to me. Well, let's just remind everyone, older siblings don't like to hear that from younger siblings. My brother, even now, if my brother comes and tells me that, I'd be like, yeah, we'll see.
Right?
I'm still your big brother. But this supernatural thing happens and God resurrects the dream. And it becomes more than you could have ever imagined. It begins to flourish and it begins to grow. Great things begin to happen. And then God steps in. You land in a church you never thought you would land in. Every time you drive by, your wife goes. And you go, no habla español. And she goes, it doesn't matter. God's bigger. And you go, just give me a taco. Like, let's stop having this conversation because we know this won't work. In my mind, this won't work. But God steps in and begins to do a miracle. And then the excitement builds back up because you're in that season of resurrection where it's exciting again and it's fun again. And you can begin at this point to look back at the pain from the obstacles and go, oh, those obstacles, that pain had a purpose. And it was doing something in me, and it was leading me and designing me and directing me and shaping me and helping me to become something. Pastor Jim in the book suggests everyone will go through this, or most everyone. Pastor Dell, Megan's dad, I don't know how many times he said, you have to go through this. Every great leader will have to go through this. Just keep going. And I would say, okay. And he'd say, just keep going. Everybody has to go through it. All right, I'll spray these stupid weeds. Pain can cut off the process. And sometimes when we see someone in pain, we want to help them. We want to help them get out of that painful situation, give them opportunity to escape. But pain's part of the process. The weightlifter doesn't build muscle without getting sore. If he's not getting sore, he's not working hard enough. Yeah, the t-shirts, the slogans, no pain, no gain. There's some real stuff to that. Your kids get braces. Allie's got braces, and every 5 or 6 weeks they go in and they tweak them and they tighten them, and her face hurts for a week, and I say it hurts to be beautiful. Pain is part of the process. And if it doesn't hurt, that means your teeth aren't moving anymore, and it's time to tighten it all up one more time. Sometimes we come across somebody, they come to us and they say, hey, I want out of this. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to experience the pain. So how do we respond to that person that says, is there a less dramatic route? So our goal when we answer that, and it's an important question, it should not be to take the pain away, but to give some peace in the process. And when you're the person going through the pain, and we experience this a lot when you work with people in grief, we always want to say, well, they're in a better place. Don't say that. First of all, you don't know that. Second of all, that doesn't make anybody feel better. Like, I don't care if they're I want them right here. So first of all, don't just, when you're working with someone in grief and that little like quip or quote pops in your brain, engage your brain and close your mouth. I did a funeral this morning. Nobody could recognize the person from the obituary. The sibling, the kids of the person that passed away came to me and were like, "Did you write that?" And I was like, "No." And they go, "Wow, it was great. It wasn't who she was, but it was great." Don't be like that. Don't make us lie. Be kind. Be nice. It's the awkwardest thing when you're sitting there reading this thing to a group of people and you know that everything you're reading is just made up. And you're like, okay, well, our hearts are broken and we miss the person, and you look out and they're all like, it's rough. It's rough. So don't be like that. That was just extra. That's not part of any of this. So we surrender to God the luxury of surrendering to the obstacles. We surrender to God, so we say, okay, God, I'm going to go through it. I surrender to God the luxury of surrendering to the obstacles. Does that make sense? So Lord, I'll go through it. I don't want to go through it, but I will go through it. And we countless stories in the Bible where we can see this. Where what we have to do is surrender. And if we surrender and go through the obstacle, good things are going to happen. But what we do is the cost going forward seems so great that we stop. So there's 3 groups of people in this boat. Group A, they haven't quite found what that why is yet. And so maybe they're on the cusp. Have you seen the picture of the guy that's digging for diamonds? And in the picture, you can see the diamonds are right here, and he's digging right here. And he gets frustrated, and he quits, and he walks away. But, man, like 3 more strikes, and you had it, buddy. 3 more times. But you just get tired, and you go, ah. So that's the first person. The second group, Group B, they've seen a glimpse of what it is. They know, they feel it. But they're stuck in the process. Maybe it's the time factor. That's what it was for me. It's like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want to look anymore. I don't want to pray anymore. I just want to be done. This is frustrating. It's discouraging. So they're kind of stuck. And so they reject the process. And then, instead of surrendering to it. Then the third group, they know what the why is, and they're trying to walk away. And this one's more me, I guess. But their heart's full of turmoil because they know what they're doing. I already knew what the why was. I just couldn't get back to it. And I was frustrated, and I was discouraged. I remember crying at the altar. Nothing had happened. I just was so frustrated. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So we can think of people scripturally, Peter, King David, Esau. Peter denied Jesus out of fear. Fear people were going to find out he was one of the disciples. Aren't you one of them? I don't know him. And so he surrendered to his obstacle. His obstacle was fear. King David slept with Bathsheba, another man's wife, got her pregnant, killed her husband. I mean, this is just a slippery slope that's going bad to worse real quick. I mean, that's a pretty brutal thing when you tell the captain of the guard to say, hey, pull back, leave him exposed. Yes, sir. What are we doing? Okay, guys, when I tell you to pull back, but don't tell him. Okay. Have we ever thought it through that far? Like, that's what he did. He sees her. Lust catches his eye. Go get her. Bring her to me. King, she's pregnant. Kill her husband. Now you're my wife. Now it's okay. But it didn't work. He created a mess. And all because he didn't surrender to that obstacle of lust. Esau, he gave up his birthright for a bowl of stew. I'm so hungry. Just give me the stew already. What good's a birthright? Laziness. His obstacle was laziness. He just wanted it right now, microwave, before it was there. So he surrenders his birthright to his brother. So what do these three have in common? Bitter tears of regret. When we surrender to the obstacle, we sell ourselves as a slave to that obstacle. And we can only have one Lord in our lives. We can only have one master. And that master is to be the Lord Jesus Christ. And we can't serve two masters.
Amen.
So we have to resist and rebuke the obstacle and surrender and submit to the Lord. So how do we get over the obstacles? Because that's what today's about. Overcoming. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. Never quit. Never quit. We just keep going. That thing is in your heart. We keep seeking it and pursuing it. We keep hoping for it and believing for it. Looking for people that God is placing in our lives. And maybe some of those people are going to say some hard things and some challenging things. But we need to be able to look at those things and respond to those things. And we can probably all sit here and think of people that we know, think of people that we have heard about that have quit on their dreams and just thrown in the towel. We can think of people that didn't. And we can look at their lives and see the fruit, the peace, the joy in both situations. And so one of the parts for us that will help us overcome is if we can look at these, the inspiration, the application, the perspiration, the resurrection. Where am I at in this process? If I already know and I've been pursuing it, am I in an application part or a perspiration part? Am I getting to the resurrection part where it's getting exciting and fun? Right now we're all in the perspiration part. It's the first hot day. And the last, because it's going to go away. And so where am I at in the process, and how do I move through to the next part? We need people alongside of us that'll encourage us and walk with us. That's why I say, at that funeral today, it was so sad. And I do a lot of these, and I just sit at some of these and I just think, I need to either just film my own so I can say what I want, or I need to live so they don't have to lie. And like, how can I be better? How can I live better? How can I impact the lives of the people around me? How can I get to a place where when we get there, they don't go, who wrote this? Who is this guy? I never saw that. Or when they do, it's a good thing. Because we learned all kinds of stuff about our son. Things that he was doing that we had no idea. Meeting with people, discipling them. And we're like, what? We didn't know. And if they hadn't shared, we still wouldn't know. But, so what are you doing? Where are you at in this process? God wants to push you through. The pain that comes with the obstacle is beautiful. You've heard this story. This is my final thing. I got 3 minutes. The guy that's in the hospital bed and he sees the cocoon in the window and the butterfly trying to get out. And he keeps watching it struggle and he keeps watching it struggle and he keeps watching it struggle and he feels bad for it. And so pretty soon he gets some scissors and he reaches over and he snips the cocoon a little bit to help it out. And then the little butterfly crawls out of the cocoon. But it's got no wings. They're just mangled and no color and they don't work. And essentially the butterfly was cursed to just crawl for the rest of his life because the butterfly needs the pressure of escaping the cocoon to push everything into the wings to get the color and to get the strength and to get all of that stuff. So that he's beautiful and he can fly. But when we restrict him and we don't let it happen, or we help them in this case, then they never become what they were meant to be. Right? Megan has a white German Shepherd. German Setter. One ear is up and one ear is down. The first time we had a German Shepherd, I was like, this dog chews more than any other dog I've ever had in my life. What is wrong with this thing? And so I began to research it. Did you know that a German Shepherd, they chew because that's what gives the strength so their ears will pop. So if you don't let them chew, you end up with a weird looking German Shepherd. So somebody, because it was a rescue, we think you should do that apparently. Somebody didn't let him chew, and so he's kind of funny looking. Because they wouldn't let him chew. And now it's too late. There's pain in the process for a reason. It will make you great. And God made you to be great. Amen? Amen. Lord, I thank you for these amazing people. And we pray, Lord, that wherever we are at in this process, that we would know that you are lining things up. Lord, I pray that if the dream is fading, that you would revive it. If we're discouraged by the obstacles, that we would find someone to encourage us and lift us up and lead us. And Lord, I pray, Father, that you would do great things in each life, that you would encourage them, that you would strengthen them. We give you all the honor and glory for what you're going to do and how you're going to reveal yourself to each person in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.